recorded live.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Cool.
Yep,
Well,
you're good to go.
I love that part when you do that. It makes us sound and feel so professional, you know? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the call. It's our regular Wednesday night call. And we'll just start off real quickly with a disclaimer. And, you know, we're just a bunch of living, breathing men and women who gather on Wednesdays to talk about stuff that's going on in our country and around the world. And, you know, we're not here to give legal advice or tax advice or any of that kind of stuff. We do talk about things that we think will help improve our lives and our country and share ideas and concepts that will serve a greater good. So we gather and under the guidance of Yahweh, and we're glad you're here. So if you hear something on this call and it's a remedy of some kind or it's a process of some kind, and they've tried something or done something, that doesn't mean you do it. And I will also say that if you are going to do something or use a process, whether you hear it here, this forum, our forum, anybody's forum out there on the web, whatever you do, just do everybody a favor. Take responsibility for it, and don't point a finger at somebody else if you know, you get challenged on it and you you know, want to blame somebody else, because that's wrong, and that's coming into any process with unclean hands is going to backfire on you. So my encouragement to anyone is don't do it unless you know it, you understand it, and you can defend it. So I'll shut up about the rest of all that stuff. So anyway, welcome everybody. I thought what we do tonight, and I kind of went into the, you know, the disclaimer there with this idea of, you know, if you're going to do a process, man, don't blame it on somebody else if you get challenged on it or something. I mean, that's just insane. And I've heard quite a bit of this recently, and it disturbs me that people are out there and, you know, they want remedy and they want help. And so what do? They ask people for help, and then these people offer their help, and then the next thing you know, they're you know, challenged by maybe a alphabet organization, and they blame somebody else. And of course, you know, some of these alphabet guys are pretty dishonorable, man. I mean, you know, they want to use the threats of like, well, gee, either you're going to turn state's evidence, you're either going to do this, or we're going to take your children away and we're going to put them, you know, in a prison camp in Ethiopia, or you know, we're going to separate you and your family, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and you know, man, is it any secret what's going on in the world today? I mean, if you don't understand that the bankers are inflicting 95% of the pain, you know, against this planet today, then you're probably not paying attention. So anyway, what I thought I'd do tonight, if it's okay with you guys, Matthew, and if Stephen's on the call, he might want to jump on too. I thought maybe what we could do is just kind of open up the calls tonight with some questions, and maybe there's a process or something that you're doing, and you know, maybe you're having some trouble with it, or you know, you just have a question about something you've heard or seen or witnessed or whatever. So with that, Matthew, if you want to do your little thing there on your end, let's see if somebody has a question, and I guess they'll pose that to you, and then you'll see it, and we'll see if we can get some answers. By the way,
have me hit *8 on their phone.
Okay, guess you guys heard that. If you hit *8, that'll let Matthew know that you've got a question. Now, by the way, if I decide to answer your question, I want you to know that I'm answering it from the standpoint that what I would do if it was me. So, in other words, when I hear your question, I'm going to hear it to say, gee, Dave, if that was you and you were in that situation or you were in those circumstances, what would you do? So that's just how I'm going to answer it. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
All right, we got our first caller in. It's the login ID is Bob Allen.
Well, let's just use first names. We'll go with Bob. Hi, Bob. How are you this evening?
Just a sec. I got flipped out of my screen here.
No worries.
See if I can get back on here. Just a sec. When I clicked on his name, it didn't unmute him and opened up his web client. All right, here we go.
Are you there,
Hello?
Bob? There you are.
Hello?
Hi, Bob. Hello.
Hi, Dave. Question on money orders. I was listening to Jack Smith. They do a Monday night call, and the lady, Catherine, came on and described their group that Catherine's working with for about a year has successfully been paying IRS bills with money orders. And what they do is, in all handwritten, no stamps, no forms, anything weird, it's just plain handwriting, they will take a payment voucher that has been sent to them by the Internal Revenue, and they will turn that back into a money order and send that document to a payment center, the one that sent it to them typically. And on the top of their document, they will write accepted for value, and I believe returned for value. And then she described in terms of the elements that they put on it is, if you look in the IRS website, it'll say a money order should have these like who it's payable to and the date and so forth. And the UCC will also have that kind of information in terms of, the payor, the payee, and so forth. And I guess for about a year they've been successfully doing this, and they pay the exact amount, nothing different, unusual, whatever the payment voucher says, that's what they send in. And as I was studying the Internal Revenue manual and studying UCC, it's not quite clear to me, like, who is the drawee? Like in a normal money order, it might say it's drawn on the bank of such and such, but when you're turning it back to Treasury, who would that be? If you have an idea, if you were filling one out, is it payable through Treasury? Is it payable through, if you have any experience with this, I guess that's an assumption. So whatever you want to comment about your experience or knowledge of money orders or how you might create one out of a payment voucher to return to the IRS, I think people might find it helpful.
Okay, great. Well, great question. Well, when you listened to their call the other night, did they specifically say, did they have any type of template or syntax that you would follow with regard to that in terms of that?
Right. What they said is, we don't want to give you an exact template because we want you to put some skin in the game and study it and learn about it, which I thoroughly appreciate that. And that's why I dug into the Internal Revenue Manual, what it says about here's what a money order typically contains, and the UCC, here's what a money order element looks like in UCC requirements, if you will, in order to make it a valid negotiable instrument. But I couldn't identify in either of those, other than the UCC seemed to say, okay, you need a drawee or that element, but I had no clue as to who that might be.
Well,
and they did not say that on her call.
Okay. Though I appreciate what she's trying to do, there might be a different way to go about that. I think I would have taken a different approach, just based on what you're telling me. In other words, I might have wanted to say, look, I don't want to, catch a fish, feed a man for a day, show him how to fish, feed him for a lifetime. I totally get that. I totally understand, and I definitely sign on to that. I guess the question is, Treasury, U.S. Treasury is really the IMF. It's the International Monetary Fund. So the fact of the matter is that when we sign into or become part of the Social Security Administration, we think that we're becoming part of, a U.S. government agency, and we're not. We're actually becoming members of the IMF. So Treasury is the IMF. So I would think that if you're paying it to, and it's paying it from, would be it's coming from your straw man account off your social, or you're using the number on the back of the Social Security card. So depending, how you've got maybe your foundational process set up as well, I would think that you would somehow use your social through Treasury, through Internal Revenue. So, they're creating the funds out of thin air. So did she talk anything about, she's saying they're having success. That's a pretty broad and wide statement.
Let me define success.
Okay.
Success for them is that they get a payment voucher, let's say for $5,010. They create a money order for $5,010, send it in, and in reasonable time, a few weeks or a month and a half or whatever, they get back something that says you now have a zero balance.
Okay. Now, are they including a 1040-V with that?
Yes, they're including a 1040-V with their payment voucher.
Okay, and are they filling in an amount on that 1040-V?
Probably the exact same amount that they put on the payment voucher.
Okay.
She didn't actually say that, but she did say that they are including a 1040-V with it.
Okay. Well, I've seen the money order process, and I don't have it in memory as to all the exact wording on the actual voucher itself. I know when you're accepting it for value, you're exempt from levy. You're putting your social without the dashes, I believe, and then you're signing it, and so that's what's charging it. And then you're turning it into the money order on the voucher itself. Are you separating? Did they say? Because there's a couple different thoughts about separating the voucher.
They said in her case, what they do is on the top half of the payment voucher, they would put the accepted for value, and on the bottom half, they make it into a money order, which I take it that means right on the payment voucher is what they're making into the money order. They do not separate it, and actually on the back of it, she's how would I say, extremely careful. And on the back of the upper half...
The back of the voucher itself?
Yeah, the back of the payment voucher. If it was a blank piece of paper, she would actually write a couple words on there like money order on reverse, just so that if anybody ever said, what was this blank piece of paper, it would kind of direct them, turn it over, there's a money order on reverse. And on the upper half of the backside, she says they actually write accepted for value on reverse, or something real close to that, just so that people know they need to turn it over to see something else, so that if it ever got in a court setting or something, that the judge wouldn't say, what's this blank piece of paper? And they could say, well, it's not blank anymore.
Well, you bring up a really good point, Bob, and that is you can go into court and you can put your documents into an evidence file, and there they are. Your documents are right there. They're in the evidence file. And then, you ask the judge about a certain document that you have, and he's got it turned over on the back, and there's nothing there. And he says, what? I'm sorry, I don't see anything here.
Oh.
So guess what? Is he telling the truth? Yeah.
Yeah. In that case,
Now, what I've heard other people do, and maybe this is something you can consider or take back to her, I don't know, if they're willing to. I mean, are they in a position here where you go out and do your research and you come back and you go, okay, based on what you told me, I researched it. Here's what I came up here. Here's what I came up with, and this is what I think I should do. Can you share that with her, and they'll come back and critique it a little bit for you?
I'm going to try and find out how to do that.
Okay.
I don't know if I can or not.
Well, one of the things people do that seems to have it can be a pretty impactful little process by taking a postage stamp, a 2-cent postage stamp, and you put it on the back down in the lower right-hand corner of that document or that piece of evidence, or maybe in this case, this particular this presentment that you have with the voucher, and when you put a postage stamp in the lower right-hand corner, and then you you sign in blue ink across that postage stamp. Now, I've heard of people doing that, and then when the judge turns it over, He's looking at now international postage fraud, which takes it all the way to the Netherlands. So I've heard that can have a pretty profound effect on well, let's not call them judges because they're not. They're black-robed administrators. And, again, that can have a pretty profound effect. So I think you're on track. I think basically the only language you're probably looking for is that on the money order itself, the amount, the date, the account number, and then the payer and the payee as to how that money. Let's see. I think what you're going to do is take it from Treasury to IRS. Are you not? Aren't you not? Are you?
In the Treasury manual, it says make your money order payable to United States Treasury.
Okay, so you're making it to the United States Treasury. Okay,
yeah,
that sounds correct. That sounds correct.
Yeah, so then it was like, okay, who's it payable through? Because it's not payable through like Chase Bank or something like that.
No, you're not using a bank. You wouldn't need to. I wouldn't think. I would think just United States if it's written. I think it's. Do you have to write it out too? Don't you? Do you have to write it out United States Treasury?
Yes. At least according to the IRS manual, the best thing to do is write United States Treasury, or you could put U.S. Treasury. But I think United States Treasury is the preferred thing to say.
Well, first of all, Bob, let me applaud you first of all for coming on the call and asking, and second of all, doing your research. I'm impressed. That's really such a crucial part of all this is to do your research. And I think you're on. I think you're probably real close to getting that correct. And again, I've seen it, but I haven't done it. I don't do it that often. It's not something that I think I do have it in my data bank somewhere, money order and what to do and how to do it. Tell you what, let me give you an email address you can use where you can send some questions.
Okay.
And this is a general box out there, and I'm not even sure who the guy is who answers the questions, but I understand that the questions get answered pretty well. And the address on that is the number 4.
Yep.
The word education. The number 2 at gmail.com.
Okay.
And that's basically all. That's basically all I know that they'll do is that you can send them a question and they may answer it, they may not. But I do know that they answer it based on if it was them or me or whatever. This is what I do.
Yeah. In case anybody's listening, the accepted for value, they suggest red ink. In the money order itself, they suggest blue ink. And they definitely say no stamps, as in not postage stamps, but like stamps that would pre-stamp wording. They say don't do that. Put it in your own handwriting. Make it you.
Make it you.
Yeah. And any thoughts? Would you put a by John Doe when you sign your name, or would you, or authorized representative, or anything like that?
Well, who are you signing?
Because I'm thinking I'm signing on behalf of the straw man.
Okay. So are you an authorized representative for the straw man?
I would say yes.
Okay. And so that's what I would do.
Okay.
Because, you're the living man. You're the secured party creditor. And so if you sign it that way by authorized authorized representative, you can also, a lot of people are comfortable putting UCC 1-308. If you don't know what that means, go look it up.
I think that UCC section changed a couple years ago.
1-308.
1-3. Oh yeah, okay. I think that's the new one. Yeah.
That's the new one. But even it. I'm sorry. Say again.
It used to be 1-204, didn't it?
Yeah. So many numbers, so many different codes and stuff, and sometimes I mix them up. It could be. I know 1-308 will get you. It basically says what you want it to say, and what is it that you want to say. There's people that will challenge even the idea that you're saying all rights reserved, relinquishing none. Well,
I have a question about the blue versus red ink when you get a sec, Dave.
Sure. I will tell you. And so why are you signing it in red ink? Would you mind sharing
I think the red versus blue is the blue is public and red is private, as in your public account versus your private account with Treasury, or a private on the private side of Treasury versus the blue is the public side of commerce.
Okay, I've heard that before. I'll just tell you a quick story. A lot of folks are having challenges getting stuff filed in their county courthouses, and this can become a real art form. And it's interesting because what this is really is a mindset. And I heard a famous motivational speaker one time say something that stuck with me for years and years, and that is, the one with the most certainty wins. So when you go into a county courthouse, somebody gonna win, somebody gonna lose. So when I go in, I can tell you I'm going in to win, and I'm going in with guns blazing. And of course, that's just a metaphor for saying that I'm ready. And I'm going to go file my documents, and some little public servant clerk is not going to stop me from my administrative remedy and/or obstruct justice. And you know what? I need to do right by her. I want to make sure this isn't going to become a career-changing experience for her. And that's a line that I will use, by the way. That's a nice way of saying I'm going to take your job. And a lot of people get in. Their adrenaline's running. They don't really know exactly what they're going to say. But the story is that one time I went and I used to sign all my documents in red, all of them. And and where not only did I sign them in red, but it used to say red, where my name was, and then anything else under that, secure party and all that, was in either black or blue or whatever. So one of the clerks, she was real cocky with me one time, and she said, "So, why do you sign these in red?" And I looked at her, and I, it's always good to take a second. And I thought, boy, am I glad she asked me this question. And that's exactly what I said. I said, wasn't it interesting that one of you have finally asked me why I'm signing it in red? Because I'm signing it in the blood of Jesus. Do you have any more questions? She shut her mouth. You ought to, that saying, you pay for this, it's $5 of MasterCard, that little saying, the look on her face, priceless. So what's interesting about that is that they don't ask me questions like that anymore. Because you know what? They're afraid what my answer is going to be. And so, and it really boils down to, I really think right now, by the way, if you're having challenges out there filing documents, there's a county in Georgia. It's called Towns County, Georgia. You can do a Google. And you know what? Those folks, I literally think you could probably file, you could write your name on a piece of dried dog poop, send it down to them, send them the money, and they'll file it. I've never seen anything or heard anybody turned away down there. UCC, you name it. And then the interesting thing, of course, is that once you've got it filed in one county, then it's pretty hard another county to tell you they're not going to file it, isn't it? Because they've kind of lost their argument that, I can't do this and you can't do that. But you've got to be able to go in and stop, take a big, deep breath, take a legal pad, write down their name, ask them if they're bonded, ask them if they took an oath of office, and say, listen, when you took your oath of office, did you put your hand on a Bible? Did you swear before the people that you were going to protect us? So why would you want to scrutinize my documents? Have you just made a judicial decision? Are you a judge? Are you giving me legal advice? And they're going to go, no, sir. I'll come back and go, I don't know. It sounds to me like you're making a legal determination for me by telling me what I can file into this county courthouse. Because if you stop me from filing my documents, I believe that's obstruction of justice. I'm pretty sure that's felony. I believe it can get you up to 10 years and $3,000 fine. Now listen, I don't want this to become a career-changing experience for you, Susie. But you know what? Listen, I just want to make sure that, we're not going to go round and round, because this is not an option. I'm not going to give you an option whether you're going to file my documents or not. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go get a sheriff, and I'm going to ask him to come back here, because I'm going to tell him that I think a crime could be taking place here, and I want to go get the sheriff just to make sure we're all on the same page. So I tell you what. You know what? Before I do that, Susie, what if we did this? You take my document back there, and I'm going to give you a one-time offer of immunity. You go ahead and think about it. Go back there and talk to, whoever you want to talk to, and then you can come back and tell me, that you're going to file my document. And guess what? When you talk to them that way, they have a tendency to go, oh, my gosh, maybe I don't think I'm going to get by on this one. Because you know what they do? They tell people day after day after day after day, person after person after person, nope, can't do that, nope, can't do that. And why? Because the district attorney or a judge told them not to? Ask them that question. Gee, Susie, let me ask you something. Has an attorney or a judge told you not to file my documents? Are they afraid of me? Are they putting you in harm's way? Are they the one who's going to go down here? Are they the one who's going to prison? Or is that you? So anyway, you got to go, and again, it all comes back to the one with the most certainty wins. Matthew, you said you had a question about the blue and red. Go ahead.
Since Matthew's not coming on just yet, I do want to go back before we actually leave me.
Sure.
On the postage stamp on the backside, would you do that on a money order, or would you other documents? I say yes, I can understand that for sure, but on a money order, it wouldn't interfere with its purpose in terms of getting it to go through Treasury and all that, would it?
Why would it?
I would presume as long as you don't put it where they have to endorse, you should be okay.
Well, if you're putting it on the back in the lower right-hand corner, they're not allowed to write anything above it. If you put the postage stamp on the lower right-hand corner, then that they can't write anything on the back of that document. Nor could a judge. Nor could an IRS-type agent. It's something to consider. Again, I'm not saying to do it. I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just saying if you're going to write something on the back, you could put, I guess you could write account paid in full. I mean, if you want, you know what? Remember, this is your process. You can do what you want. You know what? This is my party, and I'll cry if I want to. So, you can really do whatever you want. It's your process. If you feel a postage stamp would do it, then put a postage stamp. If you feel writing on the back paid in full, that's what they do on a check. If you take a check and let's say that you're paying off your car, and it's the last payment, and it's $300. A lot of people write down in the memo, the account number in the memo, and then on the back they say the account number paid in full. So I guess you could do that. Wouldn't it be just like a check? It's a money order. Are they going to stamp it on the back? I don't know. So, something did they mention anything about that when you listened to Jack's call the other night?
Actually, nobody had mentioned anything about a stamp on the back, so that was a new thought. What is?
I'd write it at the bottom if it were me. Because when they stamp a check at a bank, they say don't write below this line.
Yeah.
Why do they do that? It's my check. You pay attention to that? I always write stuff underneath. I used to always write stuff underneath that line. I'm like, I can write underneath this line. Why? What are they doing with the check?
Well, I think they're turning checks into securities.
You think?
Well, I've heard it. I've not seen it, but I've been told.
Well, you can bet your bippy. Do you get them back?
Oh, no.
Nope. Then where are they going?
They're going to somebody's making it a security pile.
Yeah, well, Bear Stearns or Lehman Brothers or somebody that was buying all those securities. Yeah, you bet. Are they going to monetize it? Are they going to bundle it and sell it on Wall Street? You betcha. You betcha they are. So, yeah. So why not just write paid in full on the back? Lower right hand, bottom, the very bottom, you could write paid in full, account paid in full. Write the account number. That's what I'd do if it was me.
And so then, generally, what is because somebody told me once about you can do a traffic ticket with a postage stamp, and I didn't have a chance to ask him. So maybe you can just say give an explanation to the people of what is the impact of that postage stamp. I heard you say that, okay, now if the judge messes with it, that means it goes to the Netherlands, it goes to, I guess, international postal.
It's international. It's now gone to an international level. It's taken it out of his jurisdiction.
Oh, okay.
Remember, one of the challenges people want to do and when they go into court is they want to get into all this, I'm the living man and you can't, and you have no authority over me, and people get themselves all twisted and tangled, and that's for me, that's not the way I operate. I can take it out of his jurisdiction because, first of all, I have the know-how how to do that, but
right.
most people don't. And I'll tell you, I remember my buddy went in one time, man, and he studied and we studied, and this was several years ago, and he walked in and said, I'm the living man, and you don't have jurisdiction over me, and this and that, and blah blah blah. And he went on and on and on. It sounded really good. You know what the judge said? He looked at him and he said, "You're here." We kind of went, "Oh yeah, I guess so. We are here, aren't we?" So anytime you step onto their vessel, into that bar, you better be real astute. You better know what you're doing. You better know how to make a judge recuse himself. Now, can you do that? You betcha. How do you do it? One of the things that I try to let people understand is that the difference between a creditor and a debtor, and your belief system about either one of them, especially when you're standing in chamber with a black-robed administrator with a hired gun to his right. So what's the difference? Well, in my model of the world is creditors ask questions, debtors testify. So if you find yourself entering into controversy, you better be real careful, because that's exactly what they're trying to do, is enter you into controversy. So, you need to be able to do anything and everything that you can to give yourself the upper hand. When he flips that paper over on the back and sees the postage stamp with your signature written across the back of it, what's he going to do? Some of these guys know, some of them don't. So, it really comes down to a couple of things. A proceeding cannot go forward if the defendant doesn't know what's going on. That's why they ask you questions. Do you understand the charges? Now think about the word he used. Understand.
Yeah, stand under.
Stand under. No, so what's your response? Absolutely not. I will never stand under you. I'm the living man. I have a question for you, Judge. Is that what you are? Be that what you think you are. So my question is, who are you? Winston has a really great way of going into court. Winston always says, I don't go to court unless I want to go have some fun. And Winston goes in with that old country boy kind of attitude. When they, are you Winston Shroud? Da da da. He'll say, well, excuse me, sir, but we've never met, and I don't know you. And my mother always said, if you're going to be doing business with folks, you ought to know their names. Can I get your name, sir? Guess what? Now you're asking questions. And the young lady to the right there, who's she? She's my clerk. Oh, good. I'm going to need her name. Oh, yeah, you betcha. She's probably the one that signs the bonds, isn't she? Good. Yeah, I'm going to need her name. And the fellow over here with a gun, who's he? So you're gathering names. Now, one of the things you can obviously do, if you want to, get the judge to rattle a little bit, you start asking him questions. What's your status? Are you insured? Are you bonded? Are you liquid? Winston's got 20 questions that are phenomenal. The other thing is, of course, is asking what jurisdiction are we operating in today? And he may say something like, well, you're in the district court of so-and-so county. No, I didn't ask you location. My question is, what jurisdiction are we operating in? Are we in admiralty, equity, statutory, common law? See, I can't defend myself. I'm trying to ascertain what's going on here. So I'm not going to be able to defend myself and move forward with these proceedings unless I understand the rules of procedure. And I'm not going to understand the rules of procedure unless I know what jurisdiction we're operating. So I'm ascertaining what's going on here, Judge. What jurisdiction are we operating in? Ooh, ouch. He's not going to like that. But you don't have to be mean. You don't have to be nasty. You just deliver the question. My recommendation, though, of course, stay out of court.
Exactly.
If you can. Yeah, so any other questions?
That covers that pretty good. I do thank you. Better let somebody else have a question.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on the call tonight. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Matthew?
We do have one caller from Indiana who has a question. I'm going to go ahead and unmute him right now.
Don't forget your question.
Indiana. You are
Hello,
unmuted.
Indiana. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. How are you this evening?
Just fine.
Good.
I got a question for you about signing over the postage stamp. Now, I've heard that if you use gold ink, it's more like royalty or something.
Well, I think what you're talking about is that you typically want to sign the postage stamp with blue ink, is my understanding. If you're going to use a gold pen, which would be like a permanent marker, one of the thicker ones, you'd put your account number in the top right-hand corner of the document. So you take your gold pen. It's my understanding, again, if it was me, this is what I'd be talking about doing for myself, is I'd take a gold pen and put my account number, whether I'm using let's say I'm using my registered number that I've used for my birth certificate bond, I would put that in the top right-hand corner, or I'd be using either the social, or I'd either be using the number on the back of my Social Security card, aka IMF.
Okay. Well,
But you know what?
I just
Again,
Go ahead. I just bought a gold pen, and I got it at Staples, and it is a pen. It's not a magic. It's not a marker. It's not a felt tip.
Okay.
I didn't know if you was aware of that or not.
Yeah, and again, I think it all comes back down to personal preference. If that works for you and you want to sign it in gold, by all means, sign it in gold. Not a problem.
Well, now my question to you is do I sign over the stamp with gold? Because I heard somebody else make a statement. If you sign over the stamp in gold, that it makes it royalty instead of
royalty.
Yeah.
So what royalty? I don't understand. Well, I don't know how that makes it royalty.
I don't understand enough about this stuff to get into a discussion with you about it. I mean, I'm just using the term that I can remember that they stated about the gold was that it made it royalty.
Understood.
It's like you got a duke and an earl, and however they come down, but the gold is royalty, like you're a king.
Okay. Well, I guess that's a perception. And again, the beauty in commerce is that if you want to sign it in gold or you wanted to sign it in pink, I think it's up to you. Depending on your relationship with your creator and what you understand about revelations and so on, I already perceive myself as a king, and I act like one, especially if I was in a courtroom. That's why my answer to a judge like that would ask me, do you understand what I'm asking you?
Right.
No, absolutely not. I will never stand under you. I'm the living man. I stand above you. So my question for you, Judge, is blah, blah, blah. So again, me, I'm a man that follows biblical mandate. And so I when I say that I'm a king, I say that respectively because the Lord has told me that I'm a king and I should act like one. And I think this is one of the challenges with some of the community is that we operate in fear. And believe me, I get it. Anybody that goes into court that tells you that they don't have a little bit of or have some fear, I would find that to be very, very difficult unless you've done it so many times. But I will tell you, every time you do it, the fear does drop a little bit. Because the bottom line is that anytime I've ever been into court, I get there a little early and I pray and I ask the Lord to hold me gently in the palm of His hand and have me say whatever it is He wants me to say. So if the gold pen writing to you portrays your royalty and or that you're a king in the Lord's army, by all means, man, sign it in gold. I like it. I do know, though, I've listened to RJ instruct some of this before, and he does a beautiful job of this postage stamp stuff. And he says to use a gold pen and write your account number at the top right-hand corner, and then the postage stamps, whether you're putting them on the front or the back or whatever, you can sign that in blue ink. But if you want to sign them all in gold and put your number at the top in gold, then I think it's great.
Okay.
Any other
question.
What's your first name?
Glenn.
Hey, Glenn. Thanks. Appreciate you coming on the call tonight. You're welcome. Anyone else, Matthew?
Yep, free Don.
I'm sorry, Don.
Good evening.
You're unmuted.
Good evening.
Good evening. A few weeks ago, you had mentioned the name of an agent in Austin, Texas for the OID. Do you remember that name?
You mean the letters, Maureen Green?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I just remember you had talked about it, and somebody was asking me about that.
Well, if we're talking, go ahead.
I was just saying, it just needed the name for a question on the OID.
Okay. Well, there's a couple of different names. Maureen Green seems to be one of the names that's floating around for people that have done OID process, and IRS is challenging the OID at some level, and they're getting letters from Ogden, Utah, and it's coming, my understanding, under the name of Maureen Green. Now, there was another name that was floating around, I believe, in the OID process, and her name is Anna Medlock. And Anna Medlock is in Ogden, and apparently people were sending things to her, things that were accepted for value, money orders like we were talking a while ago with Bob, and we're sending them to Anna Medlock and getting things resolved by sending things to that particular office. But I believe that office is probably now so inundated with letters of this type that that may have died down a little bit in terms of getting remedy by doing it that way. Now, I don't know. I've only talked to one person who actually said that they had settled 3 credit cards by sending a similar process where they were accepting it for value and creating a money order and a 1040V, and they were sending it to Medlock's office. Now, that was last year, back in 2008? Yeah, 2008. And I got firsthand information from a guy that had gotten all 3 of his accounts zeroed out. But other than that, I don't know. Sometimes people get remedies and you don't ever hear about it, and or they don't come and report it. And sometimes they may have gotten remedies and don't even know it because they don't follow up and don't check it.
Yeah, that's also. Anna Medlock sounds familiar. I think that was the name you mentioned. I thought somebody had said Austin, but Ogden, Utah.
No, I'm sorry.
Did you?
No, Anna is in Austin.
Okay.
Most of the bad news comes out of Ogden.
Okay.
So Ogden's the one that's and that's the other one.
All right, that's what I remembered in Anna. I remember the first name Anna now. and out of Austin. Okay. And
okay.
Do you remember the name? Is it Med, M-E-D-L-O-C-K?
Yes, Medlock.
Okay. All right. That was my question. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Anyone else?
All
Matthew?
Right. Next one is Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. All right.
Hello, Dave.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Great. Just you raised the OID thing. Could you just have a little discussion on the refunds being questioned and what the status of that is, or what the remedy is on that?
Well, I can only talk. I can only hallucinate about the whole OID process and what I've observed over the last year or so with it. It developed. It's been around for a long, long time, and the rich have been using it for a long, long time, and it got more popular here about a little over a year or so ago, and most people were doing it what's called the ZYA, zero year account ZYA method, and they were reversing the payer and the payee, and but they were still getting remedies. Some people were getting paid. Some people were getting frivolous filing letters or warnings. In some cases, more warnings than actual, frivolous filing notices that they owed $5,000. So it's come full circle. Obviously, some things happened in California with that organization out there with Teresa, and she had a lot of success. And, the bottom line is she was doing it right. I mean, was she doing anything wrong? No. Was she doing anything unlawful? Not to my knowledge. So the bottom line is that they kind of, I can tell you that the last thing I heard from a very reliable source is that she went to court and the judge recused himself. So
yeah, I've actually got the recusal order, and they assigned a new judge to the case, but I don't think anything else has developed since then. But
they kicked it down to a lower court, did they not?
I'd have to look at the... I'm sorry?
Do you have a copy of that recusal?
I do. I sure do.
Right.
Well, it's not a recusal. Let me... I'll pull it up for you, and I tried to... this is Jim, by the way. Mike and to Skype some stuff over, but we can never hook up for some reason. But if I can get your Skype handle, I can certainly get that over to you.
That'd be great. You can. The handle on that is Albie, ALBIE.com.
Okay, that's funny because that's what I had in there. I will try to add you to my. Here we go. Let me see. Yeah.
I'm online right now, so if you want to send me something, we'll do it. But let me get back to your question and what's going on. There's refunds coming. There's no question about it. But obviously, there's a lot of different tactics. Look, the genie's out of the bottle. And you know what? They ain't putting it back. It's not going to happen. And so there is way too many. The wave of people with the information today about the truth and what happens when somebody signs a promissory note or a bank loan or a car loan or a student loan or a credit card. Look, wake up, IRS. And everybody else, the money comes from the person's signature, not the bank. They don't loan any money. They create the original issue discount. Money goes into an escrow account, and instead of it being a mortgage contract, it becomes a financial investment contract. Well, guess what? That's that person's money. It belongs to them. They funded the loan, and if they want to collapse the loan and call in the refund or the amount back with the 1099-A and file the appropriate 1090 OID stuff, and then you've got to do the 1040 stuff, then by all means. So, what are they doing now? IRS, I believe some of them rogue agents are going out. People are getting refunds, and they're just going in and they're taking over their bank account. Well, okay. I guess that's something I guess you can do that. You can just go in with no due process of any kind and just lien somebody and levy somebody's bank account in their home? When did you wake up and realize that you were a piece of crap? I mean, come on. I mean, this is America, boys and girls. Let's act like this country, we love it and we care about it. And you know what? I can tell you, there's some documents out there, and there's some process out there. You can whack those boys pretty hard. That would do that to you. So, the bottom line is, you might want to be careful about what's going to happen to you out there, because you know what? Hopefully they're going to lose their job, because if you know how to go in and file the right documents and make the right request, you can make it a pretty rough day on these guys. So I tell you about it. I don't know if I had done that process and I had gotten a refund. I'd probably want to make darn sure before I entered into this process, number one, that they couldn't touch my property or anything I own. I come from that place. I learned it a long time ago from Robert Kiyosaki in the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And here's what he said. Own nothing and control everything. Well, hallelujah, kiss my grits. That's pretty brilliant, because you know what? Slaves don't own anything in this country. Well, you know what? I also learned from a federal judge about that same time. There was a guy by the name of Bill Reed, wrote a book called Bulletproof Asset Protection. Read his book, and here's what he said. He had lunch with a federal judge one time, and here's what the federal judge told him. He said, if I can't find it, I can't take it. Something to think about. If a judge can find your stuff, or an IRS agent can find your stuff, guess what? They'll try and take it. So just make sure your stuff is put away. And, however you want to do that, in a trust, in an LLC, just make sure your name and social isn't attached to it. And guess what? They can't touch it. So if it was me, that's what I'd be doing with my property. Now, if I was going to get a refund, guess what? I'd want to make sure that if I cashed that check, that I made sure, that they couldn't get to it. Now, I'll just tell you what I heard somebody, one of my buddies, and he's Skyping me right now on the show.
I also just asked to be added to your list. ALBIE.com.
Is this wire?
Starts with a K? No. I start with a K. Start with a K. KY. Yeah. Like KY jelly.
That's not right. That's funny, right? That's funny, right? In 7 languages.
But easy to remember.
You know what? I'll never forget it. I'm having visuals. I can tell you that. Okay, so you just sent it to me?
I just asked to be authorized on your list. ALBIE.com, all lowercase, right?
Yeah. You can. I think you can. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, send it to me. I will definitely.
Well, until I get authorized, you're not showing online. So until I get authorized, I can't send you anything.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely online, so I don't know. I don't know why that is. So.
Hey Jim, this is Matthew. I got him up on mine.
Yeah, I know. It's weird because I've had them on my list for a while. I just took them out of my list and added them back in and requested authorization. So for some reason, I haven't been able to connect with you, Dave. I don't know why.
Okay, well, that's fine.
We don't want to hold up the call, so I just...
That's fine, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just keep trying, and we'll get that taken care of. Back to cashing the check. Here's what somebody told me the other day, and I thought, this is pretty smart. He said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to Vegas. And prior to going to Vegas, he said, they're hurting for business out there right now, so they're pretty flexible. And understand, most of the casinos, if you know anything about Las Vegas, it's a very interesting place because, when they built Hoover Dam many, many years ago, they got prostitution legalized in the state of Nevada. And then, when Bugsy showed up to build Vegas and they built the first, started building the Stardust and the Tropicana and the Sands and all that, they got gambling approved. So it was one of the states early on that where asset protection was pretty easy to do because you could set up corporations. And back then you could set up corporations. You didn't even need a name. You didn't need a social security number many, many, many years ago. But the bottom line is that this buddy of mine, he called Vegas and he said, hey, if I come down there with a refund check from IRS and Treasury. Can I cash it? And they said, absolutely. Now, if you walk into Vegas, with $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000, do you think they care? I mean, people show up. High rollers do it all the time. So the bottom line is, show up, cash the check, put it on account, get yourself a suite, spend a couple nights, maybe even gamble a little bit. At the end of the night, the end of the week, whatever, you may want to take yourself a few $1,000s in cash, and the casino will issue a cashier's check. Take it to another casino and cash it again. Take it to another casino and cash it again, and then go cash it. Guess what? Game over. Now, again, that's just me, or me sharing information from another person that. So, you can be creative. Again, I would, own nothing, control everything. You just have to think it through. I think just being smart with that is a really good idea. And if you move it, you move it. I can tell you, I know somebody that got a refund. They moved it, and then moved it to a relative, and then the IRS went after the relative, but he had already moved it. So bottom line is, and they went after this. They went after this relative. Guess it was a cousin, and they seized the cousin's account. What? Hello?
Huh?
How can you do that? How do you do that, boys? So these are just a bunch of lawless bastards. They don't care because they're probably getting a commission. Isn't it interesting that the money was actually that person's anyway, right? That's where the money came from. And so they got the refund. They took it back away from the bank. If you don't think banks don't owe ID, hello? Guess what they do with some of these mortgages? They're doing 1099As. And then I love this part. I love this thing. There's a guy that calls me once in a while, and I feel so sorry for this guy because he had a bank, he had a credit card, he got injured. He started living off his credit cards, and he got himself in trouble. He was in a car accident. Okay, I mean something happened to this guy, and so he made some bad choices. He probably should have just went and claimed bankruptcy and be done with it, but he didn't. And here's what ends up: the credit card company does a 1099A on him and does a 1099C. And so now the bank, the credit card company, told IRS that it was income. What? It's income. And so now he's got to pay taxes on it. Which, it's just, I guess these guys don't get it. I guess these bankers, are they that stupid? Do they realize that they're killing the people that they're living next door with? I mean, it's just insane. It's just insane. So, anyway, thanks for coming on the call tonight. We appreciate you and appreciate your question. Anyone else out there, Matthew?
No, not at this time. That's it for questions.
Okay.
Unless somebody wants to hit *8 real quick.
Yep. If you have a question, we're just kind of doing an open forum tonight. We're just sharing some ideas and some concepts, and people have questions, and we're answering them based on what we might do if it was us. That's all I can do.
Here's one again. Go ahead,
okay.
Don.
All right, I have another question. We're looking at the deed of trusts, and I can see all the various points about the deed of trust, but in Alabama, they don't use deeds of trust. They just use a mortgage. So there's no trustee, and I was just wondering how there's no trustee to fire if you want to revoke that. I just wondered if there's any, I know the principles are the same, but how would you treat a mortgage where it's just you and the bank? There's no third-party trustee. How do you fire the bank? Or I suppose you can do anything. It's your document.
Well, you got, who's the grantor?
Oh, you are the person who signed it.
Then guess what? Whose instrument is it? Unless there's another signature on it.
Yep, no other signature. It's your instrument. So
it's your instrument. So how would you say, get out of my face? So, I mean, there you go. So you're in a judicial state?
I don't even know about that. Looking at the mortgage, it doesn't looks like they could go either way. The bank could file action, or they could just put the thing up for sale, the property up for sale.
Well, they've got to do something. You probably need to go. Do you live in this state? I mean, is this your situation, or are you dealing with this for somebody else?
No, I was dealing with somebody else who had a deed of trust, and that's just, to me, it's cut and dried. It's easy. But I was just looking at mine, and so I was just wondering what I would do if I wanted to do something about the fraud.
Well, if you're not facing foreclosure and you've got some time, there's some process out there that seems to be working pretty well. That is, one of the first things you do is a RESPA letter. Depending on how old your mortgage is, and you can put a RESPA letter together and come back and tell the bank, okay, boys, here you go. You got 60 days, and if you don't answer my RESPA letter in 60 days, I'm going to default you, and I'm going to write in a self-authenticating power of attorney that says, and if you don't answer this in 60 days, you give me full authorization and power of attorney to remedy this any way I want. Because the bottom line is that if you don't answer this, then by your acquiescence, I accept your confession that you didn't loan me anything, that you didn't risk anything, that there was no damages of any kind to you that I've done or would do. So based on the fact that, it's ollie in free, buddy, there's one. You can remove your signature. You can, revocate a power of attorney. So there's a bunch of things that you can do. And if you're in a deed of trust, I would think that you're in and that's a non-judicial state, meaning that they have to follow certain guidelines, state rules, meaning if they want to go to foreclosure, they're going to have to assign a trustee. Somebody's going to have to be the trustee, because the trustee is the one who, and if you look at the deed of trust, there should be the name of the trustee and the beneficiary on the deed.
Yeah, deeds of trust have that, but the mortgage here in Alabama does not have that. There's no trustee.
That's fine. But there is a trustee. There is a trustee. The trustee's on the deed. So that's where you would do a trustee. If you were going to go down that road, then what you would, if it was me and I had a deed of trust, and I saw that there was a trustee and a beneficiary, I'm the grantor. So I have the power to terminate and reassign. That's what I do. Because more than likely, that trustee and that beneficiary on that deed of trust is probably a law firm. So I'm going to fire them, and I'm going to reissue, and then I'm going to do it under notary seal, and I'm going to make sure that all parties are notified of that separation. Now, prior to that, when I get my document all filled out, I'm going to take it down. I'm going to put it into the county record. I'm also going to have some language in there that's going to say that once I've assigned this new beneficiary and this new trustee, that it takes dominion over all others, and that if anyone changes this, they're committing securities fraud, and they will be punished on a federal level, and there will be consequences. So you could add that language in there, take it down, put it into the county record, pull 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 certified copies, and then take copies of those certified copies under notary seal, do presentment, and I would send those to the parties. Number one, you send it to the bank, you send it to any attorneys that have been messing with you, and you send it to, obviously, the beneficiary and the trustee that you just terminated. And, again, do it under notary seal. Now
so you started off with the RESPA letter, and I have that stuff. I've looked that over. and then after 60 days, then you can do the revocation or the power of attorney revocation of the bank and all that. Change the document up and revoke it all.
Yeah, you're gonna, you're going to terminate them, and then you're gonna, reassign.
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
Hold on, one of my buddies here is just trying to. I'm just going to see if he has. Yeah. Well, he's talking about a notice to cancel. Hey, Tim, if you're on the line, do me a favor, man. Hit *8, and Matthew can unmute you. Matthew, he's coming out of Florida, so if hit *, there he is. Is that you?
Which one is it?
Florida? Tim, hit *8. Yeah.
There you go.
There he is. Tim.
Hey.
Hey, what's
happening?
You, man.
Better
so
late
go
than
over
never.
that. Yeah, I kind of, you can definitely do your trustee termination document first if you want to, because you are the grantor. So you are empowered to be able to do that. And again, go ahead, Tim.
I've got an awesome freebie.
There you go.
I have found the source of all this process, and I have no contract with them. So hang on, I'm going to give it to you. This is good stuff. Let me find it here. Okay, here's the website. It's http://mortgagefraud.homestead.com. When you click on that, you're going to have it ask for a password. I believe it's L like Larry, G like Gordon, 5495A like Apple. Now the first letter, they're in small letters, so I can't tell if it's an L or a 1. Try them both. It should be an L. That's going to put you into this process and hook you up with a woman named good Lord, I can't remember her full name. It's Karen, Dr. Karen somebody, and she allegedly saving people's homes is 99 wins and 1 loss. This is where our buddy got his process, Dave. I found out tonight. So
okay.
It's not as thorough, but this will explain to the young lady caller that the whole process, how you do it. There's an audio there to listen to. It's very thorough. This is very enlightening for people. There is word that there are some high powers to be after this woman because of her winning record. So take it for what it's worth.
Okay. Is this, by the way, is her first name Karen?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know who it is?
Yes.
Well, that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, hey, how about you and I? We'll talk about that offline.
Go ahead. Okay. I had actually a question, but I was going to let the young lady finish first.
Okay. Well, just you're unmuted, so go ahead and stay that way. So go ahead, caller. Did you have another question?
No, that was it. Nah, that was it.
Okay, great. All right. Well, listen. Thanks again. Thanks for coming on the call tonight, and we appreciate you. What else, Matthew?
Let me look here. I got on that website and I was distracted. Let's see. Let me get out there again. I think Strawman had a question. Let me pull it up here. All right. Strawman, you are unmuted.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I did. Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I just wanted to tell you on the redemption by method group in the file section is the money order. Now, that is a printed version. It's not handwritten, but they say they're having pretty good success with that.
Which one, Art? Is it the handwritten or the stamp?
It's the stamp. You would copy, put it through your printer and print it out, but you can change the numbers, date, all that stuff on it.
Okay. And whose camp is that coming out of? We'll just talk first names here. When you say success, can you go into a little more detail about that?
There's been several people posted successes using that on there. The lady that goes by Sheila CEO is the one that posted the money order, and there has been several postings of success that get a zero balance after using it. And I've heard of other printed versions working in different camps. They're saying use the handwritten one. I'm sure that works just as well, but I think your signature is what they need more than anything. I mean, when you go to get a mortgage, what do they need? They need your signature. They need your social.
That's correct.
And the funds are all coming from the same source. So I just tried it a little over a week ago. It hasn't come back, so I can't say one way or the other.
Well, one of the challenges, of course, in and around all this is that there's a lot of talk, and as my one buddy Dave always says, he's like, okay, well, do you have firsthand information about that? It's one of the challenges I have with, and I have no qualms of saying it. I have with Patrick Devine, because he's putting information out there, and he hasn't used it. Well, I think it'll work. Well, okay, that's great, but don't you think it would be a good idea to do it yourself? So again, it just irks me. And we've had several people on this call. We've had conversations about this, and listen, if you want to try something, you want to go out there and you put it to work, good for you. Way to go, by all means. And then come back and tell us. But so many people today are making decisions out of inspiration or desperation, and I've seen a lot more of them out of desperation than I have out of inspiration. So, just come to the table with information, in my humble opinion, that works. So,
this isn't coming off of Patrick's site, but
right.
But you're right, and I agree with you. And if I'm successful, you'll know about it. And if I'm not successful, can you bail me out?
Well, I'll do my best. And the other thing I would tell you is make sure that you pick out a jumpsuit, that matches your skin color. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know you well, brother, and you're a courageous man, and you're willing to take a chance, and you got guts, and your heart and soul belong to Yahweh. So when you're coming from that place, it's all good, man. So anyway, good to hear from you. Thanks for coming on tonight. Are you on the road, by the way?
Yeah, going to Wisconsin.
Okay. Well, good. That means you're working. So keep the sunny side up and the greasy side down, will you?
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Art. Talk to you later. Anyone else, Matthew?
Yeah, this user ID is Aggie Mark.
Okay.
And there, you're unmuted.
There you go. Go ahead, caller. Hello? What's the ID? Hello there. Yes.
Aggie Mark.
Okay. Did they unmute?
Yeah, they're unmuted.
They're unmuted. Okay, that means they can talk. Hello there. Can you hear us? Say it again, Matthew, please.
Aggie Mark is the user ID.
Aggie Mark, can you hear us? Okay. I guess not. All right. Anyone else?
That's all I got right now.
Okay. Well, that's good. We're going to next week. I'll let you know that I'm going to be bringing someone on the call that I've known for a while now. She's a great gal, and her areas of expertise are in the area of bankruptcy. So she understands 7, 11, and 13, and she can, she can help you in those areas, and she's in fact, I believe she's even setting up something, where you can get stuff online too. Anyway, if you know anybody at all, even if you don't, it's going to be good information. You might want to come on the call and take some copious notes. And because again, she's done a really good job for people. And if you're facing foreclosure and you don't know what to do, by all means, come on the call because you can file a couple of documents here, and everything can come to a screeching halt, and at least give you enough time to stop and say, okay, what am I going to do? So it's pretty inexpensive way to buy yourself some time. I know a couple of guys that have used it, and I know one couple guys that filed back in like the end of November, and they're still stalling with their bankruptcy and doing some other administrative process. So it's a good way to buy yourself some time, and it's pretty inexpensive. And she'll help you with the documents, and she doesn't give legal advice, of course, but she can help you with the documents. So, any other callers out there with any questions?
Let me look one more time here.
Okay.
No, that's all. Wait, no, California.
California, right on.
Back here.
Okay.
All right, California.
Hello, this is Mark. Hello, this is Mark in California.
Hi, Mark. Where are you in California?
Oh, I'm in California. I didn't having trouble entering my normal PIN, so I had to enter, 1 pound, whatever. I've been on the call before.
Where are you?
I'm in Southern California, outside of L.A.
So why California is like a bowl of granola, don't you?
Oh God, are we being punished here? Oh God, a bowl of granola. That's fun.
It's because it's full of fruits, flakes, and nuts. Now listen, here's the thing. I was born at Queen of Angels Hospital in Hollywood, California, and I was raised out there.
My condolences.
I know. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I felt your love right there. So when I take a crack at California, I remember my dad early on one time said we're going to go to Vegas, and he was going to buy some property. And that way, when California fell off in the ocean, he'd have beachfront property. So,
yeah,
all right, I'll shut up. Go ahead.
Well, that's okay because I'm from Texas by way of Missouri. So whatever you can show me is fine, and I'm not enamored of California per se. It's okay. In any event, a couple of things. I missed part of the call because I lost my connection. So you were in the middle of talking about some of the acceptance for value, I think, and as well as the money order stuff. After somebody had spoken about the foreclosure stuff, I believe with Karen Tappert. And I have a friend in Vegas who has 3 houses going through that process with Karen Tappert. Okay, it's not conclusive yet with what's gone on with her. There's certainly been forestallings. And but it's not.
Give me some clarity on what you mean by that. There's been some stallings. In other words,
in other words, 2 houses were sold at a trustee sale. The 3rd house that she's in at the present time, they have foreclosed on, but she's still fighting. So the process that we're discussing as nearly as I can understand it, is certainly buys time. It certainly buys time, but it may not be totally conclusive down the road yet. At least for my friend, okay? And I can't speak for everybody, of course. But I personally have a friend in Vegas who is going through this process. If it's a process with Dr. Karen Trapper we're talking about. So, and I personally know the details and the status of all of that. And I can put you guys, in touch. We can be in touch with my friend in Vegas at any time, basically, on this. She's investigating other things because the status is uncertain. And I can go into more detail, but I don't know how much detail about this I should go through at this time. By the way, many of the docs that are involved in using this are available in different ways. I got a series of docs just yesterday, last night, involving some of the things that are used, supposedly out of San Bernardino with somebody that was successful in getting a reconveyance. The reconveyance is done in kind of an unusual way, from what I understand. So we're investigating all of this process now to try to figure out some of the best ways to go about it. We have many different, many varied approaches is maybe a way to say it. So I think that the jury is still out on some of these things involving the gal you were talking about. I'm not saying that anything's faulty about it. I'm just saying I think it's still out in some of the stuff a little bit. I
agree with you. Yes.
So I don't want there to be any misunderstanding about it, because I want there to be total clarity on it. And if you have to go through more of a process, if it delays you for 6 months or a year or whatever, but there's some follow-ups you have to do, there may be follow-ups that have to be done. My understanding is with another friend in Colorado. There's nobody I know personally. The person in Vegas I know personally. With the friend in Colorado of my friend in Vegas, after 6 months, somehow the bank came back and got the house back. There was some kind of a thing that happened, and so he apparently has lost the house and he's gone out of the house. Now, that was what I was told. Again, I can't promise any of these things, because I can promise that there's 3 of these houses in Vegas that are going in various stages of this process we're talking about. Interestingly enough, I have documents that were used in Vegas that are slightly different from documents that apparently were used in San Bernardino County here. I just got the San Bernardino County documents last night, and I've been trying to compare them between the 2 states. Theoretically, you'd think they would be about the same. So I have those documents. In fact, the documents supposedly came through Redemption by Method, but when I looked on Redemption by Method, which I'm a member of, I didn't see those documents there. Maybe I just missed them. Okay. So I wanted to just clarify that I don't think the fat lady is sunk totally in all this stuff.
Well, I'll comment by saying, I want to talk to somebody that's done this woman's process and is sitting there with a clear and perfect title. That's what I want to see, because until you have clear and perfect title, you got nothing.
I will do my best to help you get in touch with somebody. Okay.
Okay. I mean, if you want to invite them to the call and have them come on here and talk to us, that would be great. I mean, it would be wonderful. Here's what I've heard. I've heard that she's done 100 people successfully. Okay, great, fantastic. Let's get one of them to come to the call and tell everybody and share with everybody what they did and how it worked.
I'm with you, and I'm trying to find the person in San Bernardino supposedly that had title reconveyed free and clear, but I haven't found the person yet, but I'm working on it. I can put you in touch with her, or I can put my friend in Vegas in touch that's in the process and has 3 houses and could explain exactly what's going on with her, but that's not over yet. And so I don't know whether that's valid to talk about that one or not. Because I've talked to her twice today already, not even realizing I was going to have this conversation at this moment, So because because she's nervous about where things are. I'll just have to say it that way. And there's obviously what we're talking about is an administrative process basically versus a specifically court or judicial process to begin with anyway. But it may spill over into a judicial process. And I have another person that's out here very close to me that's using a judicial process that feels that really is a great way to go versus the administrative process. And at some point in time, we can look at that too. I'm really trying to find out and learn all I can about this. Believe me, I am. So I've been on the call a couple of times, and I think I've said a couple of different things. I don't remember, but I will do my best, whatever I can do to follow up with this. Now then, a couple of other things. I wasn't even going to mention this until all of a sudden you guys started talking about this about Karen Trappert. I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't know you were going to discuss that. I wanted to ask, if I could change the subject slightly, I wanted to ask something else. I've heard that in order for the IRS to actually seize property lawfully, to levy a bank account or whatever lawfully, they must have a judgment in court to do it, or an actual court order. Is my understanding correct on that?
Hey, say that one more time.
I have heard that for the IRS to physically to legally seize a bank account, they must have a judgment from the court to do that. I don't know whether that's correct or not, and I wanted to ask that first of all. If anyone knew the answer to that.
Well, what do you think the answer to that is?
I think the answer is they must. That's my what I believe, because that's the thing that actually would make most sense in terms of things being right. Okay, so that's my take on that.
Well, of course.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Secondly, I've also read in some of the codes that only the secretary can authorize a lien or a levy or a seizing of property. It has to come from the Secretary of Treasury now, and it cannot come from any of his delegates.
Here's what you're going to have. All you'll ever find is a notice of lien or levy.
Right.
You can't levy on a notice of lien.
And I'm telling my friend who has a bank account that has been frozen that one of the things that she needs to do is she needs to notify her bank that this is what the law is, and if they let this money go, it's a significant amount of money. If they let it go, they will be subject to prosecution she will file suit against them. I think that's one thing she has to do, because my understanding is that banks simply give it up without even really questioning anything.
Well, here's what a lot of people don't realize, that the IRS is nothing more than a collection agency.
Correct.
And one of the ways you can get them into a pickle is the Fair Debt Collection and Practices Act. Verify the debt. They can't.
I got it. So I never thought about using it against them. I thought they technically were basically just an auditing agency, not even a collecting agency.
They're a debt collector. They're a debt collector.
Okay.
That's all they are.
Okay.
That's all they'll ever be. They're just a debt collector.
Okay.
And they use guns, fear, and intimidation. What a wonderful way to make a living. What a wonderful thing to do to the people of this nation.
No,
what have they done? They've become
the Gestapo.
They're hired guns for the Rothschild banking cartel. That's
exactly. Now then, I told her that one of the things she needs to do is notify the bank and use your PSQ process immediately, basically, on these people. To use the PSQ process, which I have all the downloads that I think, as far as I know, that you guys supplied, right? Public service questionnaire and all of that stuff, and the template for that, the instructions. That came out of you guys, did it not?
People on this call brought it to the call.
Okay, that's what I meant. I didn't mean necessarily you personally, but that's why, as I recall, that's when I remember I discovered it was listening to this show, and I have all the documents. And I think that the PSQ process, if she uses it and she notifies the bank of what her intentions are, I think it's at least a step in the right direction. If she has to go forward after that, if they take this money, then at least she's established the groundwork for everything. Because they're getting very close, probably, to try to take it now, and I'm trying to guide her. But my understanding is, but I wanted to be able maybe to give her some laws involving this if I could, because I've tried to look at 6330, I've tried to look at 7321 of the code, and 6320 and so forth, and I can't really tell whether you have to have the actual court judgment to be able to do that or not. I think you do.
Well, again, we can't give legal advice. We don't know any of that.
Right.
She's just going to have to search that, and she's going to have to check it out, and she's going to have to do whatever she feels she needs to do. So let's give somebody else a chance. Thanks for coming on the call tonight.
Thank you very much for indulging me here.
Yeah. We'll talk to you later.
And I'll see what I can do to put us together on the other thing.
Okay, fine, great. Go ahead.
I'll mute out.
Yeah, that's fine. We've got apparently we have another question. So, Matthew, you got another...
It's all quiet out there right now.
Okay. Well, maybe that's the way it should be. So, anyway, thanks for coming on the call tonight, everybody. We always appreciate everybody. And again, we're just a group of people here that are get together, and we're talking about ideas and concepts and different remedies and different ideas and just sharing information with each other. And, we're not coming out here to give legal advice and do any of that kind of stuff or tax advice or any of that kind of stuff. We're just talking about stuff. So, anyway, appreciate everybody coming out and putting their questions out here. Next week, we're going to have somebody on the call here that's got some experience in the world of bankruptcy and can talk to anybody that's got some issues in those areas or knows somebody that's got some issues. And, again, you can come in even if you're not interested in it or whatever. You never know when your next-door neighbor or friend down the street may need it. So we'll have some information on bankruptcy. And we'll start at 8 o'clock. And I didn't do a very good job this week of notifying everybody, but I'll try to do better next week. So until next time, keep your prayers going for the people in this community and what we're doing, and work together as a team and take responsibility for what you're doing out there. So again, thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.